Hello friends, this is Mrudula Sinha. Welcome to the online class. Friends, today we are going to study a very interesting chapter of history. It is about colonization of India. It is chapter number 2 of history of class 8. Now to understand the chapter, we need to understand the topic first. The name of the chapter, Colonization of India. Now, colonialism is what, try to understand what is colonization. So, colonialism is when a nation exerts direct control over a state by military, economy, and political means. So, here in this chapter, we will know about how the British first established its trading posts in India and later they captured over the territory of India. So, to understand this, it is very necessary to know that who was the ruler over here in India at that time. So, if we talk about then the last most powerful Mughal ruler was Aurangzeb. He died in 1707. So, before that, we will see that what was the situation that see after the death of Aurangzeb, what happened that many Mughal governors like and zamindars they all started becoming powerful because before the death of before that Aurangzeb was holding the nation in one. He was very powerful and he was very capable and efficient. We have already studied about Aurangzeb in class 7. Okay, so after the death of Aurangzeb, many small powerful areas were being held by the zamindars and the governors. Now, after the death of Aurangzeb, what happened? The power of Delhi started declining. Now, this Delhi was very effective center and was functioning from long time as a very powerful center. So, it started declining. And in the later second half, you can say later part of the 18th century, the Britishers who came to India, they had come as a trader. Now, when this trading company had come, but later on, we will see that how from a trader they became the power holder, or you can say politically they annexed the areas. Okay, so for that we will try to know that how did people come over here and who were the people who came over here. So here we will see about the advent of the European companies. In the advent of the European companies, we will find that how the rulers who were coming to India, how the traders who had come over here in India, they tried to extend their territory. So, the advent of European companies, if we talk about, then there were many companies who were coming here to India. Then there were these traders who had come over here. When they came over here, they had to take the permission of the local ruler first to trade over here in India. So these group of merchants, they got the permission to do the trading over here, and for that, they needed some place. They needed some place where they could keep their belongings and monitor their trading. So for that, they established some trading centers. They had been doing this trading in the other part of the world also, but here we will be talking about our country. So in our country, what happened in the coastal area? In the coastal area, they came through the sea route and they established their centers. These centers were named as factories because the officials of this company was named as factors. But the companies which had come over here, these companies, they were given the right to trade over here in India, and they wanted to have the monopoly of trade, means they wanted to do the trading. The companies who had come, they all wanted that they should get the monopoly of the trade so that they could earn maximum of the profit. But it was something which was just the desire of each and every company. Now in return, the rulers used to, means they used to take the permission of the local ruler, so these rulers, they used to receive a share of the profit. So this was a type of trading which was going on when the European companies had come to India. Now we will study about the English East India Company. Now, English East India Company, when they came here in India, what was the type of system which they adopted? So, on 31st December 1600, Queen Elizabeth was there at that time, and she issued an charter, and with that she granted to the monopoly of trade. This East India Company, they wanted the monopoly of trade, and she had issued the charter, and she gave the right. She said that they will be able to do the trading for the remaining 15 years. Now this meant that no other trading company in England could compete with the East India Company. It was a private company run by the board of directors. Now, for the when they came over here in India, then they first they had settled the factories, and the first factory which they had set up in Surat. And then later on, the Mughal Emperor Jahangir, because in 1707, after the death of this Aurangzeb, the power had declined, that we have already discussed. So Mughal Emperor Jahangir was there, who granted the permission to set up the factories in his territory. Now when he had given the permission to set up the factories in the territory, then what happened? These company people, they all started spreading and doing the trading in different parts of in his territory. Now this English East India Company, they established factories in two places majorly. The first was the Surat, which is in Gujarat, and then the second was Hooghly, which is in West Bengal. Now, as the time passed, in the coming time, it was possible that in different coastal area, rather I should say, in the coastal areas in the Indian peninsular, many centers had generated, that was the international trade centers, where these commodities, different commodities were being merchandised, like spices, cotton, raw silk, sugar, salt, pepper, textile, and indigo. So due to this, the textiles, the trading which was going on with the East India Company, that started flourishing. Now we will talk about the French East India Company. Now French East India Company, if we talk about, then this French East India Company, they had settled in Bengal, then in Kerala, Puducherry. So in this way, they had also settled in different parts in the coastal areas. And then this French East India Company was very much controlled by the French government. Okay, it was a government controlled business ventures, because it was dependent on the French government for lot of money. Okay, they needed lot of funding, so they were dependent on the French government. Now the major role of the expansion of French power in India was played by the Duplex. Who was this Duplex? He was a French governor general, and he started taking care of the expansion of trade of over here in India. Now, when this trading was going on, then what happened? That when the trading was going on, here we came to know that the English people, English East India Company had also come over here. Then French English East India Company had also come over here. So everybody wanted to have the monopoly of trade, and they also wanted that they should earn the maximum of the profit. In this competition, rivalry generated in the trade. So what happened? What is this rivalry? There is a the conflict which has appeared, okay, among the company people, because the company people, they wanted that they should do the trading and earn the maximum of the profit. Now what was the reason? The one of the reason was that the products which was the spices and the muslins, the other products, merchandised items which was found over here in India, it was available at a very low cost, and it had great demand in the European companies, European countries. So there it was sold at very high price. So in this way the rivalry generated in the trade. Now, during the 17th and the 18th century, there were many European countries who had pursued the policy of mercantilism. Okay, this is commercialization. Therefore, European companies supported by the respective government came into existence. So that means all the European countries, companies which had come over here in India to trade with the people, what they were supported by? They were supported by their respective government. Means the French people, they were supported by the French government. English company, they were supported by the England. So in this way the companies, they were supported by the respective their own governments. In this way, now we will proceed to see that how the rivalry was among the companies. The Royal Charter issued by the Queen Elizabeth I, however, it could not stop the European powers from entering into the trade. Now what happened? Because she could not dominate over, like French people, no, you cannot come, or Portuguese, she could not stop. So it could not be that she is issuing the charter and it will be followed by all the companies. So she could not prevent them, the other European powers, to enter into the trade. And at that time what happened, that if we see when that by the time English people appeared over here, when they came over here to trade, at that time the Portuguese had already established their presence in the western coast of India, that is in Goa, okay, especially in Goa. So then later on, even the Dutches had also come to India, then French traders also had arrived. So there were many companies who were here to trade with the people of India. Now this presence of so many companies, it developed a competition, because it was reducing the profit, because the market was the same and the products which are to be bought and sold, the people were the same market. So the profit was divided among the company people. So here, due to this competition, there was a tussle, or you can say conflicts among the company people because of the reduction of the profit. Now all of them wanted to buy the goods at low price in India and then sell them in the European countries where it was in demand at a very high price. So due to that, what happened, that the market, the profit which was being distributed, it created lot of conflicts and resulted in very aggressive wars also among the trading companies. Now during this period, the trade that was carried by the arms, because when they had conflicts, that means the company which were more facilitated with the arms and ammunitions or armies, they used to suppress the other. They also used to sink the ships which were bringing the goods in the of the rival companies of the rival countries. See, there were different countries. So whoever the supposing Britishers, they used to sink the ship of the other rival countries. Now companies which had come here in India, like for them it will be French, Dutches, Portuguese, okay, and likewise. So otherwise they also used to block the route and then stop them from arriving at the port. Then again they used to disturb the supply of the goods. So in this way, many activities, many events were taking place, showing the rivalry among the companies. Now these trading centers were protected through the fortification, as we have already talked that they had fortified the areas. And companies, now what they did, they previously they were using those centers for only trading and keeping their belongings, but now they were also raising their own armies under the fortified areas. So as the time passed, the since the companies who were doing the trading, they were always uh, fighting with each other, and those who were more powerful could dominate over them. So in this competition, if you see, then the Portuguese and the Dutches, they were set out from Indian trade because they were not as powerful as the English and the French. So the English and the French, they started dominating the trade between India and Europe. So now we will find that the trading which had been dominated. So here today, what did we study about? We studied about the advent of the European companies, then the East English India Company which had come over here, then how did the French East India Company came over here, and when all the companies had come, then how did the rivalry developed among the companies. Then ultimately, how did the Portuguese and the Dutches had were outside from the Indian trade, and then ultimately by the end of this, English and the French, they were the main dominating traders who were doing the trade here in India. So this is all for today. Today we have covered round about 4 topics. So I shall be continuing in my next class about the Anglo-French rivalry. Since we already have arrived that the English and the French, they were dominating the trade here in India. So we will start at how this Anglo and French people they were doing, and what about the rivalry which had developed among the Anglo and French. Thank you.